Okay. All right. Hi, David.
Hi.
Thanks for agreeing to come again to Lana's Cafe as a guest. And bon matin or bonjour, whatever.
Bonjour, oui, it's the morning. Actually, I'm in France. Yeah, it's the morning.
Yeah. Good. Here it's already afternoon in Moscow. Actually, I'm not in Moscow. I'm in Leningrad still. Yeah. So thanks for coming again. We defined our topic as major changes in life, how to deal with them. And I thought you, as a nomad, first of all, let's introduce you. So, David Gueval, did I pronounce your surname correctly? Is it Gueval or how
it's kind of Gevel, from the word Evel.
Sorry, yeah, Gueval. David Gueval.
David, that's right.
David, you are...
Maybe you prefer my Chinese name, Ling Ling Tao. My Chinese name is also okay, Ling Tao.
Ling Hao? Yeah, that's even more difficult. Ling Hao. What? Do you mean it's your name or it's your surname? What does it mean?
It's my Chinese name. It's also one of the topic of today because I spent a long time, many years in China, actually. I changed my life 20 years ago. It's been in 2004. It's currently 20 years ago in August, I decided to change my life. It was a plan for 2 years and I stayed 16 years. So I grew up, I learned a lot of things during my trip and my staying in China, in Asia. And they give me a name. I find another name who fits me. I spent 4 years actually to find this name. It's called Ling Tao. Ascending waves. It's like the wave going up always. Ling Tao.
Wow. Very, what do you call it? This name suits you, I guess. Nice. Yeah, first of all, let me introduce you. You said you're a global trotter last time. Yeah, like we already discussed that trotter is something like galloping, but slower pace for the horse. And can I also introduce you as a nomad, international nomad, yeah, because you lived in different countries, traveled there. Entrepreneur, right? And the middleman between East and West, as far as I remember, because I didn't check what you sent me. Yeah. We met you in Philippines, as I mentioned before, in last our conversation, 2017. And since then, back then you were living in China for already, I forgot, 12 years back then. What time did you move to China? What year? Like
I said just before, it was in 2004. It was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. So it's an anniversary, right?
Yes, the anniversary, exactly. It's a big year, and I was still young, but I tried the other trip before. It's not. I tried New York right after 9/11 in December 2000. I was very interested in USA, and 1 year before I tried also India for 2 months and a half. And both time I was very impressed. India was my first travel. I was with a group. It was my first experience outside of France. So very, very intense experience, working with local laborers, doing some project on development, new developed countries. So we helped the local people bring some money and have a very, very deep interaction, and then travel by my own. I was lost in Himalaya. And at some point I decided maybe I should stay, maybe I should start an adventurous life in India, but I was not ready. So I decided to come back and prepare and continue my study in psychology in France and drama and theater. And then I tried again, New York for 1 month, and I played, I thought it would be okay, but difficult to get the visa. The visa is also when you want to change your life, the administration could be difficult to achieve your dream or achieve your project, and usually some people, some French guys say, yeah, and try. I thought it would be successful, but then China, 4 years later, 2004, I had the same plan for 6 months, 1 year to prepare. It failed, and at the last minute, I said, okay, I do it. I go to Hong Kong, get my visa. I will discover on the way. And,
well, I'm sorry, David. Can I interrupt you here? What plan failed? So you planned something to do in New York? You planned to do something, or?
Yeah, it's the topic today. How to change my life. I was not satisfied with my life in France, or I saw what I needed to saw. I learned what I needed to learn in France, and I didn't feel comfortable. I couldn't see I could see too much actually the future, the next year, and even 20 years later, I could foresee what would become of France and Europe. It didn't satisfy me. I was kind of disappointed. So I wanted something new and fresh, and to learn something I couldn't expect. So go outside the border.
Can I ask you in more detail here why you were disappointed? What disappointed you? And so what's wrong with France, do you think? Or I don't know. Because a lot of people nowadays, they actually left Russia and live in France, as I know, particularly in Paris.
I haven't met. I think the situation now it's global. There are basically two kinds. It's not country to the other. It's people who are able to move and change their life, and people who don't want or don't know how to stay. To me, it's not about Russia and France, or Russia and Philippines, or France and China. There's no perfect countries. There's no perfect situation or environment. It's really the search for the environment who fits you the best. So I'm pretty sure Russian people who come to France would be also disappointed, and others will be very happy. It was the same with me when I come to China the first time, or even Philippines. Before Philippines, I spent a few times, not long term, but maybe you can also share your experience. People don't go there. It's very poor. It's not well educated. There's so many drawbacks, so many things you wouldn't like. Even if it's cheap, there's the sun, but
and it's hot as well. It's hot
for some people, but people who like hot, like me, I don't bother.
Oh, yeah, you like hot, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm from.
Some people prefer hot.
It depends on your body and if you lived in a cold place like me, humid places here in Brittany, northwest of France, then you enjoy more the sun. And I saw in Russia as well, people going out every summer. I was very impressed with Russian people. We enjoy. It's like the idea of carpe diem. Enjoy the present moment, seize the present moment, and it feels good because you know it won't last. And this is a very good, very good lesson I learned from Russia. But the trick here in change of life is: are you going out for vacation to look for something exotic, something new, and just as a consumer? Or do you leave your country to become a producer, to create something, to really be involved in a new place? Like me, when I was in China, mostly, I was ready to stay for a long time. My plan was 2 years, actually, in my head. I was ready to get involved, learn the language, to know how they work, how they eat, everything. And if I failed after 2 years, I come back to France. At least I bring a part of China, of this experience with me. It's not only just when you are in a position as a tourist, or even
I understand. What do you mean? I hate touristic things. Yeah, I just think touristic things are boring, and it's just really about consuming, just consume impressions. Same thing, same materialistic thing. It's just for people who have problem, who have boring work, and they need some entertainment, and that's why it's, for them it's like consuming, same as buying, I don't know, things, like consuming new impressions.
And it changed your experience very, very hardly, very, very, very strongly, because I've seen also many expatriates, their companies send them, it was not their own choice, so their company sent them to work on a plant, on a factory, or on a project abroad, and it was, well, it's an amazing experience, but they knew already in their head they will come back. They already settled the plan to, I won't stay there. And so you are half a tourist. It feels like you don't need to learn the language. You don't need to make friends. You don't need to understand the situation too much. You know you won't belong to it. So it's not a full immersion to the.
I know. You don't have to adapt really. You just come, and then you know that you will leave. So you don't have to do any efforts, to make any efforts. You do.
It's not that simple. It's more subtle than that. You're still ready to make some effort. Even as a tourist, you can be very, very
not hard. Not much. You kind of expect you being served, like in the restaurant. You expect you get, I don't know, the impressions. You get everything for your money, and it's like mostly about consuming. While if you are a nomad or live somewhere, you have to make friends. You have to find some work, and really need to adapt there. It's more difficult, of course, than to be just a tourist. And not everybody can do that. Yeah, not everybody. I mean, I remember I was really unhappy in Sydney. Even now, I think it's the best place to live. But I wasn't happy because I didn't have my friends there, and it was hard to make new friends. It was the main.
You prefer Russia now?
No, I don't prefer Russia. But no, I don't prefer Russia. I would still go to Sydney, but I don't have. It's hard for me to go there, baby, by myself, because Rob, my husband, he doesn't want to live there, and it's expensive. I will spend all my savings for probably 1 year if I go there. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe everything is possible. Anyway, tell me more about. So why, in a way, I mean, in the end, you left China because of pandemic, right? Why did you stay for so long? First of all, what attracted you there, and then what made you leave it?
So just to finish with the question before, is there's no perfect countries. It's also about fate, about the moment. Also in 2004, I was interested because nobody talked about China. I knew too much about France and the Western world, and I knew nothing. And most of media and even internet says very few things about China. But I could feel like it was growing very strong, and it was said like they were preparing 2008 the Olympic Games. So it was like a new developed countries, but we knew nothing, how they live, how the infrastructures, etc., etc. Very little about China, and very few people would come back and tell the story. Nobody cares at that time, and now everybody cares. And my feeling was, my insight, my intuition was right when my first day, my first month over there, I felt like we should know. I have the feeling we have to learn. And I would need at least 10 years. So my plan was 2 years, but I felt like this country is so deep. So it's a very long story, very complicated culture, very subtle. We need not only myself, but the Western world would need many years to just understand. It's not the same as going from France to USA or to Australia, which is still the Western world, very similar. In a few months, you can understand. There's not much challenge, but the challenge was to understand this opposite, and they're still human. So my main purpose on this was about learning another side of humanity.
All right. What did you learn that you want to share what was your, I don't know, what the most thing you would like to share, the most interesting you're learning about Chinese culture and living in China?
Oh, that's too much. I'm writing a book right now to try to combine all the learning, everything I learned over there, and all the lessons. There's so many, but the number one is about, and I think it's important to understand also. Yeah, I try to get the main. I get 99 points, 99 chapters, just to try to start to understand China. Very short.
That's big.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's so many, because the opposite. One problem is the opposite of the Western world. They think another way, and secondly, they're not very good at promoting and explain. In the West, especially France, we like to open up and try to understand. Like psychology, we open the brain, we try to get deeper and deeper. Like science, we try to understand the body, open. In China, they don't open it. They try to understand the overall from the outside. So they're very introvert people, kind of. So they don't express that easy. The same way we like in France to open up and say everything. It's about freedom of speech, because it's a way to study humanity and study history. In Asia, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, is you have to get kind of feminine style. In and young, if France is young and the West is about going out and discover and conquer and open, the Asian and China is about let people come and discover by yourself and take time. It's about guessing what's inside, but never open it. So that's why in advertisement, movies, artistic, they're not very good at it. We need to have a very long dialogue, and it's about guessing, a lot of guesses.
So wait a moment, did you mention that Chinese mentality and Asian mentality, I heard somewhere, I read about it, that when they see a picture, for example, they see the picture, the whole of it, the whole picture. While we, like Western people, I mean, even though I'm in Russia, I think still I have Western mentality in a way. So we see the main, I don't know, the main subject there, the character, if it is a person or something, we just see something main object or main subject in the picture. So we don't see the whole. We see first the main thing, and we target to see the main thing. That's how our mentality works. While Chinese or Asians, they just see the whole picture first. I don't know if it's true.
Of course, it's more complicated than that. Every countries have different levels of understanding. I'm just thinking about, it's a bit cliche, but about the overall, how to make in a few words. We have a very short time, and hopefully we can meet again and talk longer about it. And
right.
Through my book.
I hope so.
The overall ideas is why there's so many conflicts between countries, and that's what is interesting in traveling and living abroad, is to understand more. If you understand people, there's no conflict anymore. If you understand their way of expressing themselves or understanding the world, different angles for the same subject, then we have another view, and we don't fight anymore. But if we don't understand, then there's lots of misunderstandings. So China in Asia, most of the time, they're not interested to open it and go inside. It's very, the country and the borders are a whole as one. It's like one party also, and they are very they're not very separated. And an artistic way, you said right. I remember when I started, I was a photographer, because they like my nose as a French nose. You see, they like long nose, the Western nose. I say, I'm not a model. I'm an artist. I studied in France, and every French people are very into art. But why you choose me? And they were very interested in foreign. And I understood after 2 years, maybe. Oh yeah, because you see the shadow. You see my shadow here. It's about perspective, about depth. And when you see old Chinese paintings, they're flat. It's sorry to say that for Asian people, but it's like the eyeballs. There's no shadows, and the nose is pretty flat, and it's also about one picture on the same level. And what they insisted, same when I arrived, when the Westerners arrived, they say, "Oh, when you do a picture, there's more depth." It's like when you see a 2D picture, you have the feeling to go inside. There's more story into it. There's more movement into it because there's 3Ds. It becomes the 2D pictures becomes 3Ds. You can imagine the shadow. But most of art and also much philosophy is like 2Ds. It's like very flat, which is okay too. It's not a way to understand the world, but you can see it's like we try to understand 4D and 5D. We try to understand other realms in words. And it's very hard to understand this different, or like animals, like ants. They try to understand the other world. So different perspective, and that's I think all the fun, because we can see the world in different ways, and it's also a flat word, a flat picture of it is also kind of zen, or you can find calmness into it, because when you have too much stories, too much shadows, then also all the drama starts, or the nasty stuff starts, because you can fill with too much stories and too much details, and you lose. And that's the problem now in France. We lose in debates and try to add more details, but maybe the question or the topic is simple. And China, usually they like to make it simple so we can move forward. It's also a great lesson I learned there.
So lesson that not necessarily just to show your shade, your shadow. We learned quite the opposite thing in transpersonal psychology, that it's actually good to get acquainted with your shadow, to know it, to understand it. What is it?
Who knows if it's good or not? Both ways. It's both way of study humanity. I agree, because I'm also write stories, and I work as an art director, and I did a lot of advertisement with Chinese team. I was a consultant on production, on advertisement for governments, for big companies. And I was also quoting all the time. I'd say the hero path is about the hero journey. Every main character is about starting low. He has to fail. He has to have shades. And that's why he's a hero, because he overcomes. He becomes better. He goes to the lights. He tries to get better, because he knows where he starts from. And the Chinese hero is already perfect at the beginning, and he has to stay perfect. He has no shadows. He cannot
like Bruce Lee, right? Although Bruce Lee is half only Chinese, I think he's half American, half Chinese, right? But no, I think they made a lot of movies in China with him too in the beginning.
There are three kinds
considered to be Chinese.
It's like yin yang. There are three kinds of hero. You choose your weapon. The foreign, the Western, the Greek, from the ancient Greek and Latin heroes, it's about overcome and start low. You have to fail. You have to be very low, like a normal human, but you want to become God. There is also the Chinese, is already perfect, and it's not a way to understand the story. And the third one should be both, like Bruce Lee, is 1 foot in the East, 1 foot in the West. He was very famous in Hong Kong, East West. It's a mix of both. He learned how the Westerners think. He was successful in the West, and he was born in USA actually, but he was fully Chinese, and he came back China into Hong Kong. So he had understanding a worldwide human. That's why he's right. I love China, and why I came to China the first time. I was a fan of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan and martial artists, because I couldn't understand where the path, the middleman. It could help the Westerners to understand Chinese culture through movements, through words. You see, difficult to explain what it is Asia. And Chinese people, I find there are also lots of trouble to understand why we act like this. So some people like this, and I hope one day I could become like him, through movies, through martial arts, through movement, through words, through poetry, or photographs. You can explain what's the link. It's a path to peace. The best way to me to understand each other's sides. More when we talk about Africa or South America, of course, it's also very similar, but it's all about opposite cultures and how to find the fine line. The yin and the yang, the most important is how to define the S between. This is the cohesion. And we lack of this nowadays. And we talk about the East and the West, but it's true in yourself as well. It's how to combine if you have some contradiction in yourself, in your brain. We have, obviously. You have a part of feminine, part of masculine, part of creativity, of reason, and how to combine the two is, I think, most of people we understand during our life how to combine the two. And then when you marry, the same. You get the baby to become the link, or when you have a job with your boss, with your customer, because with opposite sides, always have to understand what's the connection.
Yeah. There's a lot of things you said. Yeah. In terms of feminine and masculine energies in one person, yeah, that's also. Before it was like alchemistry to become an androgen, I don't know in English, to kind of to merge your both parts. And, yeah, and I watched some movie about it. I forgot its name. Anyway, so very interesting about China. We'll be looking forward to your book you're writing. Very. I think still a very reserved country. By the way, my friend, she moved there. They lived in Leningrad, used to live then. They lived in Thailand, and now they moved to China.
Wow.
I forgot the city, but I think they like it there, even though it's different culture. So I think it will be also a lot of what do you call it? Discoveries from people who go there, and some Chinese go to the West as well. I know that a lot of Chinese now in Sydney, they just study there. That's why the rental prices went up significantly, because lots of Chinese went there because there was banned online education there, something like that, in Western universities, so they went there in persons. Anyway, not sure about Moscow. There are a lot of Chinese now here. But yeah, look, I'm curious because we don't have a lot of time, and I think we can do it as a series of talks if it's interesting. We'll be curious about your future plans. So I heard that you were thinking about coming to Russia and do some business here. Maybe you can talk about it.
Yeah, it's again, there's no perfect countries. There's lots of trouble also in France, in the West. It's not. It's very hard to project yourself. Many countries the same. I just came back to. I was away during the COVID. I was back to my family in France, and when I come back to China to see my friends and my business, it's pretty much the same. Most of the young generation they have very hard time to project. Before it was like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You have an idea where you're going to, and you see the situation improving every year. Now it's like every month you need to change your plan. Every month there's big news, and it's very hard to have a plan. So it's about carpe diem, yes, to live in the present life, present moments more and more. and how to adapt to any time, any situation, any location. So Russia, to me, what I was surprised. It seems like it's a good connection with the BRICS, a good connection with China, and to me, I was surprised last time when I went there. It's maybe one of solution, one of answer to what's the connection between West and East. Russia has a foot in the East and has a foot in the West. I was very surprised.
I don't think it's connected too much to the West right now, because with this war thing, we kind of became disconnected. Historically, maybe, but not these times.
It cannot be
this period of time.
It's impossible to be disconnected, because Russian people look like Caucasian, like Westerners, like French people. I feel like I'm home when I'm in Slavic countries. And when I'm in China, I'm always a foreigner. That's for sure. When I'm in Japan, in Thailand, I don't look like local. I will never look. So they always consider me, even if I speak Chinese and spend 20 years, 40 years, doesn't matter. I will be always a foreigner. So it's kind of painful also to be in these countries. When you are in Russia, you feel like more like home. But I was surprised to feel like the way the architectures, the buildings, sometimes the habits, the mind. Sometimes it's also the way they behave, the sophistication was, to me, very similar to Japan. I was surprised. I feel like I was in Japan many times during my stay in Russia. So I understand. I'm just starting to understand that Russia is really a very interesting connection between East and West, and I think I have a lot to learn also, and how to bring back the two blocks together. And maybe that's what India and China saw in Russia. Otherwise, they wouldn't work together. So we see if it's not Russia, Thailand, Philippines, Laos. I was very impressed with Laos. Also very quiet, but you always find some issues, some trouble. So it's more about what you feel, when you feel good. Again, you said digital nomad. Yeah, I think that's the main answer. To be ready to move anytime. That's maybe the new rule, the new normal in 21st century. So I'm working on a project called neo-nomad. It's the digital nomad who can stay home, who can stay in France, but anytime they can move. Every day they're connected online. They're working with people on the other side of the world. We learn how it was created, not created, but it became very normal during COVID. We talk a lot online. I felt more closer to you and to my friends in China during the COVID than my neighbor in France. We had some issue with my own neighbor here. We couldn't talk to each other, but I could talk every day to my Chinese friends, and I have Chinese clients and work with students. Also, I was teaching French at some time, some friends, and it was weird because I was staying physically, I was in France, but my life was without border, with no frontier. So I think it become the new normal. So what I call neo-nomad. So you can stay home, you can stay where you want, it doesn't matter, but your life is online. Your life, your network, your family, your tribe, your own tribe. Maybe it's not your village, local village. It could be delocalized village. It's a worldwide tribe. And if you have trouble here, you know people will help you. It's like cousin, like a brother, like a sister. Anytime you have a trouble in France or in Russia or in China, the border closed again, or any kind of trouble, I know I have a solution. I know I have people with a house or with some jobs, or I have something to do with this network, the new network. It's a bit sad, but it's also a window of solutions.
So I think that networking and community, having some community, is necessarily to be able to survive during this period of time when actually a lot of my friends became nomads without their will. Some went to Cyprus, some went to Serbia, a lot of people went to Serbia, some went to, I don't know, Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, different countries. They didn't plan to go, but they had to because of the war. So do you think community, I think what advice, as you as experienced, probably they already also experienced because it has been a while, for maybe 2.5 years, they've been traveling. So what advice would you give them, like to create community, to become a part of some big community, international community?
Yeah, now it's a mess for now. So that's why I don't want to call ourselves digital nomad. It's more than that. So I call it neo-nomad because one thing I've noticed, people working online with foreign partners and friends, but maybe their wife or their husband has to stay. Maybe they have children in the local school, so it's impossible for them to move right now. So maybe they will stay a few more years, but their heart is already connected to other tribe, not local one. They share more values with people at the other side of the world. And they're ready to understand that maybe they will never meet them, but they feel very close anyway. So I think that's a very new trend in human history. For the first time in human history, before the 21st century, you have to be connected to your brother, your sister, cousin, your village, because you cannot move out, and you were born there, so you're connected. Even if you hate your cousin or hate your neighbor, you have to protect him. You have to deal with him anyway, because you need the food, the local food as well. And maybe some villages, other villages or country will invade you and force you to change. So you need to protect yourself and protect your tribe. But now, mostly because of internet and the computer and the new technologies, we are able to escape this rule. And it's the first time in human history. So we don't know where we're going to, but I can feel this is a new way of traveling. Before we have the car and then the train and the plane. So we were able to live in different countries more or less with difficulty, but it was possible. Now we don't need to move and still have a full-time, 24 hours life with people outside of your country and location. So we're learning there's new pattern, there's new behavior, which has not been studied yet. It's very new. And it was accelerated. It was going faster since the COVID. It started a few decades ago. People already from the West going to Bali or Goa. It was the famous place for digital nomads. But digital nomads really means they're like having fun. They're working 3 months and then have fun, and they come back. And when they're not happy, it's like we said at the beginning of this interview, is that it's like exotic. When you're not satisfied, when you consume a lot of the place you like, and when you're bored with it, okay, now I go. It's too much freedom. What I'm talking is different kind of digital nomads. It's like you really try to create something, to be involved where you're living and involved in your communities, online communities, and try to help each other. For the same reason.
So you mean that you don't, you're not afraid to take responsibility.
Yeah, and right. Also involved if you're the people who is not close to you physically, but close to you in the values or the other side of the world.
Yeah,
you feel sad and you want to help, and you are ready to share for free, even for free, and share some information, share some currencies or some money also, and find some jobs for each other. And the cryptocurrencies a few years ago happened also. The Bitcoin, it was also in the same mood I'm talking about this neo-nomad mood. it's about finding some tools, its own currencies without border, no bank, no countries anymore. And soon it could be a nation of neo-nomad, means with the different rules as France, as in Russia or in China, living on its own rules. And we saw in the human history nomads, when they're not happy in some places, they have to move, and they have no land. Still at that time, it's still easy to find some lands. Now it's harder for a community to own and to steal, not steal, but to own a new land. It's all the lands on earth, on physical world, they belong to somebody else already. They're already registered. So that's why we need to go to the abstract, digital frontier, digital land. And this is it's unlimited land. The digital land is unlimited. There's space for anyone. And that's the difference. So yeah, the idea is to continue on that, because when I saw during my trip, the people, not only in France, in the West, also in China, who are stuck in China, they might travel and for a short trip or even a few years, but they have to come back to China. But their mind, their heart, they really feel closer to USA or to French culture, and they want to have more opportunity to exchange and to work with French people, for example. So neo-nomad project could be a solution for that. You don't have to go. You don't have to leave. If you can, it's better. We still.
What is in the beginning of this neo-nomad? How do you pronounce it? I-O?
E-O-N-O-M-A-D. It's like neo. It's like eon. It's like
neo.
EO.
Neo.
Electronic. Also.
Neon. Neon.
Also like neon. But
anyway, you're right later on. Look, because we already have finish, and maybe I know that it's actually a topic for another meeting probably, but maybe just to feel the taste of it. I know that you were traveling with some famous or known coach in France, French coach. You went to Japan, you went to some Chinese village where people, what do you call these people who live for beyond
Centenary.
100 years?
Centenarians.
Centenary. Yeah. They live there, and you taught me some techniques. I don't know, from couch or from these centuries. Maybe you can share one technique that really can help you when you find yourself in some stressful situation in, I don't know, in a foreign country, and you still didn't find your community, whatever.
The best is to combine a few techniques for next time. We can share about these specific techniques. But what I learned, the last project I had was to go with some coach. It's very trendy now online. It's very trendy. So more and more life coach that they're teaching you new life, because we're disappointing with what we learn the health program and medicine doctors. We were disappointed last few years. So more and more people are interested to see alternative and different kind and different techniques, more natural. And more sometimes more ancient. So yeah, it was interesting to understand why some villages called the Blue Villages in Asia, in China also, why some people live longer and better, for what reason. So there's a few ingredients, a few reasons, maybe still under study. We don't have the solution, but one of the main ingredients, main reason we find, we still have to study about it, but was the challenge, the fact most of these villages are somehow dangerous, isolated. So the people living there from the childhood, they know they could die the day after. They could die. When they wake up, they don't know if they're going to survive. So it changes your mindset, and they don't feel stressed because they know, oh, if I die, I die. But they already, the whole body, and it's called the techniques are called hormesis. The Westerners are studying that hormesis. It's like you challenge your body and your mind to some
right challenge. Challenge
different environment. So change is a good way to get a better health. To be able to go to places like cold water when you have a cold bath in the morning. I want to be comfortable. No, you don't. If you're too comfortable, then you're getting lazy, and your body and your mind get lazy, and you lose your flexibility, and you lose and what you need to train all your life. It seems so. The theory seems like this way. If you train your flexibility, then you can live longer and better. If you
funny that you mentioned that, because my previous guest, the process-oriented therapist, she mentioned the same too. Actually, in psychology, it's considered that if you don't create challenges for yourself, it's better that you create challenges for yourself. Because if you don't create them, life created them for you, and then it might be not the challenges that you want to choose. So it's better to create challenges to move to different levels.
We all do when you get married or get a kid. It's a big challenge. When you leave your parents, when you study, when you start a new job, it's a big challenge. Also, it's a new environment, new things to learn. But then we start to get used to it, and now we are more aware of how it's important to, even if you have a job 10 years, maybe it's good to change your job, study a new thing. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be traveling and go to a crazy country. No, learning a new language. That's why the neo-nomad platform could be a solution. Also, you can meet people and understand their way of thinking. Even if you disagree, try to understand, to change your angle. It's good for your health. Actually, you can come back to the original position, but the way to travel different, even by your mind, to learn a new language, to have new movements, new sounds in your mouth, in your brain. That's also keep it alive, just to keep it alive, and that's why your life can goes on. There's so much to say about it. We're studying it, but hopefully, if you're interested, next time.
Okay. It's a very interesting topic. We should discover more of it. By the way, some questions from the last interview. I had some questions, and one of them is, do you have a girlfriend?
That would be my new challenge. That would be my new challenge for not nowadays. That would be a big challenge also, yeah.
Okay.
Because
all right. So,
when you move a lot, it's hard to, again, when I say it's hard to project how long I'm going to stay in France, how long I'm going to stay in China. So I don't want to be involved in a relationship if I have to move after a few weeks. It's unfair. It's not responsible. So I try to wait for destiny. Also, this question is both way. I just have half the answer. It has to be also the other side answer. It's not about me only.
All right. Okay. Thanks, David, for your time and for interesting stories and interesting experience you shared. I hope to see you again. And
Thank you so much, Anna.
Good day. What do we call? Bonne journée. Bonne journée.
Au revoir. Bonne journée. Merci.
Merci à tous. Bye. Bye.